Hey y'all, welcome back. We're doing something a little bit different this week, using a video that was never intended to be used for Music and Makeup Mondays because I'm kind of lame at recording things. At any rate, welcome to Makeup and Music Mondays, and if you don't know me, I'm TK, and this channel is all about doing a little bit of makeup, doing some food, and having a lot of fun. So if that sounds like a good time to you, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications and make sure you leave a like on this video. How is everyone doing today? So here we are, this is our third week of Music and Makeup Mondays, Summer Jams, and this is our oldies. Let's talk a little bit about the makeup before we talk about the music. The palettes we're going to be using this week are the BH Cosmetics Summer in Saint-Tropez palette, and we're also going to be using some new shades from JD Glow. And if you haven't had any experience with JD Glow, I suggest you go over there. They have, if you love multi-chromes and you love duochromes and you love shiny stuff, they have all of that at way lower prices than most others that are actually doing those types of shades. Okay, that's pretty much it for the makeup. Let's talk about the music and the road so far. We have done country songs about the beach. We have done some R&B songs about the beach. We have done some pop songs about the beach. And now we are going to talk about oldies. So I know some of you might be going, hey, if you look at your pop songs, those were old. How come they're not oldies? Well, here's the thing about that. Most of the pop music that you might call a summer song is these days is really just about partying or hooking up. And that is not how we're defining summer songs. We're defining summer songs as actual summer events, activities, those kind of things. So we're defining oldies as probably before 1970, but you know, some of these creep into the 70s. There are definitely songs that you haven't probably heard. They definitely would be played on the oldies radio station for sure these days. Now, it stands to reason that if we are going to do songs about the beach and they're going to be oldies, that 90% of this video would be about the Beach Boys. And absolutely, to their credit, they've done amazing work in giving us all fantastic vibes about the beach, about surfing, about lots and lots of beach activities that take place. We are going to talk about them a little bit. Basically, we're just going to sign off on them like we did on Toby Keith. We're just going to say, y'all are the king of beach music. We're going to go on and we're going to talk about some lesser known older pieces also about the beach. As we've already said, let's just go ahead and we'll talk about the Beach Boys real quick. They were an American rock band. They formed in Hawthorne, California in 1961. Originally, the group was Brian Dennis and Carl Wilson. They were all brothers. And their cousin Mike Love and their friend Al Jardine joined the group. Their distinguishing characteristic was their vocal harmonies. They were pretty, they had a lot of musical ingenuity for the day. They drew on, teen-oriented themes. And their style was kind of a mix of older pop vocal groups of the 1950s, like rock and roll, but also black R&B. And that created for them a pretty unique sound. They were originally managed by the Wilson brothers' father. And in 1963, they had their first national hit with Surfin USA, and that started a string of top 10 singles that were just pretty much about Southern California youth, the culture of surfing, cars, romance, and so it was dubbed the California sound. They kind of lost a little bit of commercial momentum in the late 1960s, I think, as rock and roll kind of took a heavier turn. And of course, in the 70s, disco was going to come in. What was pretty cool was they had a resurgence in the 80s after they recorded the song Kokomo for the movie Cocktail. And they've been kind of in and out of music since then. Members have changed a little bit, and their music has definitely been sampled, used, and re-recorded and rebooted. The music that they've done is absolutely timeless. They definitely deserve all the credit for the creation of what we would call quintessential beach music. So yes, they earned the name Beach Boys. They will forever be the definition of beach music. So let's talk about the first non-Beach Boys Oldies song. I think the song is a lot of fun. It just has a fun beat to it, just a kind of quirky and weird. It's called In the Summertime by a British rock band named Mungo Jerry. It was written and composed by the lead singer Ray Dorset. It's just all about doing sort of carefree summertime things. It sort of has those kind of R&B vibes, the things that we found in the R&B songs, like, oh, the girls are all looking pretty, out here looking good in the sundresses or whatever. And that's really all the song is about. It's not complicated, which is what I love about the music of the 60s and 70s. In 1970, it did reach number 1 on the charts around the world, spent 7 weeks on the UK singles chart, and it got to number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. It became one of the best-selling singles of all time. It sold 30 million copies. I think it's kind of unusual because normally we love music better than UK, so a lot of times you'll see a song go to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, but it'll only hit like number 3 or 4 on the UK charts. Dorset said that the song took about 10 minutes to write. He wrote it on a second-hand Fender Stratocaster, which is a guitar. While he was off work from his regular job, he worked in a lab for Timex, which is an old watch company. So the initial UK release was on Dawn Records, and the release was weird because it was actually a 33.5 kind of what they called a maxi single. So it had a couple of other songs on there with it. And it played at 33.5 RPM. Those were unusual. Normally when you release a single, it was a tight 3 minutes and 45 seconds at 45 RPM. These are things that singers today do not have to think about. But back in the day, you weren't going to get played on the radio if you were much over that 3 minutes and 45 seconds. Somehow they determined that was the ideal time for a single, and you weren't going to get played on the radio otherwise. This song was also released in like a picture sleeve. There were, and so that was unusual. It made it sell for just a little bit more money than a normal 45 RPM single were. There were some 45 RPM singles that were pressed without the picture sleeve just for jukeboxes, and if you can find them, they are collector's items. There's this unique piece in the middle of the song that is motorcycle sound. It just sounds like, hey, I've been here singing about this summertime and now I'm going to get on my motorcycle and ride away. And it sounds like it's the end of the song, but it's what they used to call a false ending. It's sort of in the middle of the song. And so they put this motorcycle sound in, and then they put, the chorus of the song on again, kind of as if the guy is driving away and singing the song. And I love those kind of little kitschy things that they used to put in the middle of records. This was especially popular in the 70s, sometimes in the 60s, because what they would strive really hard to do is whatever that quirky sound was, motorcycle, car, whatever, they would make sure that it went from the left ear to the right ear. Once again, something that you don't find musicians these days worrying much about. I thought it was very unusual. Somebody sent me a link and they were like, oh my God, you got to listen to this song. It's in 4D It's basically just an artist taking advantage of the left to right, or the movement between your left and right input channels. Somehow that makes this kind of 4D sound. In the 80s and 90s, this was called surround sound, and movie theaters used it, and they took advantage of it. In the 70s, they did it in the studio, and it was kind of a really unique hallmark of a record, and they would put all over the album cover in stereo. Stereo was a big deal. The only way to really take advantage of it was to actually listen to the song with headphones on. If you pull up this song In the Summertime by Mungo Jerry and you listen to it, you'll hear that same effect. It's just an artist making use of those two input channels. And that is In the Summertime by Mungo Jerry. Okay, the next song we want to talk about is Beach Baby. It's a song you probably have heard. It's been sampled quite a bit. It is by the British band The First Class. And yes, these guys sound like the Beach Boys. A lot of people think the Beach Boys actually recorded this song. But it was by a British band, The First Class. It was written by John Carter, his wife, Jill Shakespeare. And basically they were a one-hit wonder. This was pretty much their only hit. The biggest kind of drama about this song is that toward the end of it, there are two samples of the main theme from the last movement of Sibelius's Fifth Symphony. Because the running time of the song was over 5 minutes, remember we said tight 3 minutes and 45 or you're not going to get played. The radio stations would edit Beach Baby and they would just fade it out during that second instrumental bridge that contained Sibelius's sample. The writer got sued by Sibelius's estate for copyright infringement. They basically settled the suit out of court, with the estate receiving half of the song's proceeds. But it could have been much, much worse if the radio stations hadn't actually been fading out the song right just as that piece started. So this wouldn't even matter today in today's marketplace. And because copyright law has been tweaked to where it doesn't matter if you're making money off of the song. What matters is that you used the piece without permission, which is why I've had to change the way that I do Makeup and Music Mondays, because I kept running afoul of the copyright claims, even though my channel is not monetized and I don't have any sponsors. Back then, it kind of did matter if you were making money off the song. So there weren't really, in this case, this was a static recording, and yes, it was sold. But the big money was coming from the radio stations and the advertising. But because the radio stations were fading it out right at that point, then the court didn't see that particular amount of money that was being made at the radio level was up for grabs, because there was no way that you could hinge the amount of money the record was making on that little piece of fade out. That's really just the big drama of this song and why it's unique. As I said, this was basically a one-hit wonder band. They hit number 13 in the UK, and they hit number 4 on the US Billboard Hot 100 and number 3 on Cashbox, which was also a very significant chart to be on back in those days. Again, this is what I'm talking about when I say it seems like the US loves the English bands a lot more than the UK loves their own bands. And that is Beach Baby by First Class, another fun summer song. I love it. It's just about finding summer love and hanging on until September. And then once we go back to school, I guess we'll see where this all goes. Okay, the next song up is a song called Surf City by Jan and Dean. This is another song that a lot of people thought was recorded by the Beach Boys. And in this case, yeah, it might have a good point. It was, in fact, written by Brian Wilson, one of the Beach Boys, and Jan Berry from the group Jan and Dean. The song is about a surf town where there are two girls for every boy. And the song is about little else. It is about surfing. It is about driving a Woody, which, don't get that twisted. That is actually a car that had wood paneling that goes down the side of it. You've probably seen pictures of them. Those were called Woodies, and they were sort of like a station wagon. And the reason that they were really popular with surfers is because they were long enough to fit the surfboards either in or on. The song was recorded and made very popular by Jan and Dean in 1963, and it became the first surf song to become a national #1 hit. The song was going to be recorded by the Beach Boys. Wilson had written it for the Beach Boys. While he was at a party, he was with Jan and Dean, and he played them Surfin' USA, which was the big Beach Boys song. Jan was like, hey, we want to record that song. And Wilson was like, no, we're going to record it. I think this is going to be the big hit, but I have this other piece called Surf City. Why don't you guys record that? Because by that point in time, Brian Wilson had written so much stuff that he was kind of uninterested in Surf City anymore. He didn't really think that was going to be the real big hit. And he actually hadn't even completed it. So Jan Berry is listed as co-writer because he was the one that actually completed it and took it through all the way to recording it. As I say, it charted in the USA on the Billboard Top 100 at #1. This is another one of those sort of iconic songs that gets sampled and re-recorded. And so it's been recorded by the Meteors, by the Ramones, and by the Go-Go's. And that is Surf City, song written by Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys and Jan Berry of Jan and Dean, and recorded by Jan and Dean. All right, the next song that we're going to talk about is fun because this song is from 1972, but it has a sample that was updated much more recently. This song is Saturday in the Park. It's a song written by Robert Lamb, but it was recorded by the group Chicago for their 1972 album Chicago 5. Chicago was one of those bands that just didn't put a lot into naming their albums. It's like Chicago 1, Chicago 2, Chicago 3. So this was from Chicago 5. There's sort of two stories about how this song came about. According to one of the members of Chicago, Lamb was inspired to write the song while they were recording Chicago 3 in New York City on July 4th, 1970. And he says, Robert had come back to the hotel from Central Park and he was really excited about everything that was kind of going on in celebration of that day. And he was like, hey, I want to put this to music. But the writer actually recalls that he was watching some footage of a film that he had shot in Central Park in the early 70s. As he was watching it, he was sort of jotting down some ideas for a song about these fun summer activities in the city. Again, we often think of summer songs as being all about the beach, all about the ocean, all about those types of activities, the boardwalk, what have you. But summer in the city is really different. And as we found out in our R&B video, Will Smith talked about the backyard cookout, playing basketball in the park, playing in the fire hydrant, going cruising. He talked about the idea of summer in the city is a lot different than the idea of summer on the beach. And this song is really no different than that. That's kind of what Lamb was writing about when he wrote this song. People just relaxing, enjoying each other's presence like one big picnic in Central Park The song did extremely well. In fact, upon release, it reached number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100, and at that point in time became the band's highest charting single at the time, lifting the album itself to number 1, and Billboard ranked it as the number 76 song for 1972. It was certified gold by the RIAA, selling over 1 million units in the United States alone. It did very well in Canada, reaching number 2, and it reached number 8 as a crossover to the Billboard Adult Contemporary tracks. So I love this song. And that lead in the song, the very beginning, the intro of the song, is just very distinctive. The chord progression is distinctive. It's very funky, which is kind of a good way to describe Chicago. Their style was a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I mean, there were so many band members and everybody had a lot of input on what they wrote and what they recorded, that they often sound like a band of many, many styles. So imagine my surprise when in around I want to say this was more like 2017, I was watching the movie XXX, Return of Xander Cage, and at the end of the song, I hear them start up Saturday in the Park. Because, I mean, it is yes, it's a sample, but it is like a, note for note sample, basically. And then I'm thinking Saturday in the Park. I mean, that just kind of didn't go with the movie. But then, of course, that wasn't the song. It was a sample for the song In My Foreign, listed as being by the Americanos. Now, the Americanos are actually an EDM DJ trio. They're based in Los Angeles. DJ Felly Fell, Lex Larson, and Louis Rubio. But for this song, they collaborated with Dolla, Nicky Jam, French Montana, Lil Yachty, who all rapped or sang on the one and only song on the soundtrack for that movie, which was In My Foreign. The song features them all rapping together, singing together, and the backdrop of using Saturday in the Park for that song, I think, was absolutely brilliant. I'm a big fan of In My Foreign. I think I had that on repeat for a week after I heard it. That piano funk in the beginning of the song just suited the lyrics of driving around. You got a beautiful girl, Louboutins, and everybody's looking amazing. I mean, that song kind of, because it was a song about summer in the city, that song couldn't have been better for the themes that the artists that did In My Foreign were rapping about and singing about. Cruising, driving, got your girl, looking amazing. All those summer themes for Summer in the City. So I love the fact that Chicago's Saturday in the Park got this amazing upgrade, but that was very much in keeping with the theme of the original song, which was, this is what Summer in the City is all about. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite songs of all time. So that is Chicago's Saturday in the Park and the 2016 upgrade by the Americanos when it was sampled in My Foreign. I hope y'all enjoyed this week's Makeup and Music Monday in this weird format while we talk about our summer hits, our summer oldies hits. I guess this didn't work out too bad because most of these songs, if any of these songs other than In My Foreign, none of them have a video to show. I hope that you enjoyed the music. I hope that you enjoyed this look courtesy of BH Cosmetics Summer in Saint-Tropez palette. The gorgeous shimmers and multi-chromes from JD Glow. I hope that you are taking care of yourself, because this summer, which is only about a week away, we are going to actually be able to get out and do cool stuff. Go do all the things that we didn't get to do last summer because we were locked up and locked down. I hope that you are taking care of each other. I hope that wherever you are having a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, or a great night. And next week, we are coming back with our final Music and Makeup Mondays summer songs, and I am going to be profiling just my absolute favorite summer songs that I think everybody needs on their playlist. Y'all take care of yourself. Bye.
Dripping, bleeding out my sneaks. Throw my crown at your face in case you forgot I was king. I hope it leaves a mark if you forget where you're destined to be. Higher than wings flying outside of Caesarea.